My 2 to 3 minute video overview of my final project implementation. So what I decided to do for my final project was delve into the world of shader art and shader coding. While initially I wanted to do this by getting a rotating cube and have shader art on its 6 faces, as it turns out, getting shader art in 3D is much more complicated than I expected. So things had to be changed. I followed 2 tutorials for this, one that provided the basis for the code on the left and one that provided the basis for the code on the right, or the images I'm about to show you, the left one and the right one. And I can show you those now. So these are the 2 pieces of shader art running, as you can see. And if you hit the right key, then the colors are randomized, or the colors are selected from a set of random presets. So those are the shaders. Regarding the actual code, and something that was difficult to get right, I would say the absolute largest headache of this project was really wrapping my head around the UV wrapping, and getting all of those coordinates correct in the right space. Because in order for this art to work, as I'm sure you know, all of it needs to be in clip space, so thus normalized and arranged from -1 to 1, and I'm sending it the literal coordinates from my vertex position buffer. So all of these, not this one, yeah, here we go. All of these coordinates go in and they need to be normalized from -1 to 1. So it was a journey of realizing like why the coordinates needed to be like that, how exactly to normalize them, how my normalization might differ from like typical normalization methods, and it eventually culminated in what I think is like a pretty cool solution of me utilizing uniforms. And those uniforms, essentially, they store a lot. I can just show you them in the frag shader. But I have a minimum x value, a minimum y value, a maximum x value and a maximum y value, along with a time variable to keep track of the time, and a shader number variable to keep track of which shader I am using in what instance, and the color num variable for the randomization. But this part I feel is really the most interesting, as by sending them to my fragment shader as uniforms, and doing that in between each call of GL draw elements to draw one thing, or send the uniforms, draw one thing, and draw the other, I can make use of this normalization algorithm I found online. Here, where I subtract the min from the current thing, subtract the min from the max, divide those two, multiply by 2, and -1. Figuring out I had to do this, and also the very specific implementation where these numbers will be different every time, I would say was the most interesting part of my project. And challenging, I would just say the entire project as a whole was challenging, especially figuring out how to get 2 pieces of shader art running concurrently on the same screen. And with that, I conclude my video presentation of my project.